This is Great Places of the Great Lakes on News Talk 760 WJR. Tonight's Great Places is presented by Tryon Solutions. Don't be a little fish. Visit TryonWorks.com. Now here's your host, Frank Beckman.
And tonight we focus on one of the leading professional employer organizations in the nation, Tryon Solutions, and they're headquartered right out in Oakland County in Troy. They've got offices in Florida as well, but they operate basically throughout the continental United States. They serve businesses of all sizes throughout the U.S., and they give the type of value-added HR services that all industries need. They do everything from workman's comp to insurance to payrolls, anything you can imagine in HR. Let me give you a phone number for them right now before we get going, 248-498-8400, or online, TryonWorks.com, TRIONWorks.com. And we'll meet some of the faces from behind the executive office doors at Tryon Solutions coming up in a moment.
Welcome back to Great Places of the Great Lakes with your host, Frank Beckman.
We have a who's who from Tryon's executive offices, starting with the company's CEO, Bonner Upshaw, who's joined us in studio. Great to see you again, Bonner.
Good to see you, Frank.
And also joining us from the staff of the executive branch, David Stone, the president, co-founder of Tryon Solutions. David, welcome in.
Thank you, Frank. It's always great to be here. Great to see you again.
And Andrew Kirk is here, the CFO, the chief financial officer for Tryon as well.
Good evening, Frank.
The man behind the money.
Yes, sir.
With all the pressure on. Let's start with explaining to everybody exactly what Tryon is doing in the professional employer organization field. And Bonner, we'll start with you on that.
Tryon, we emphasize on HR outsourcing for our small to medium-sized companies across the United States. We've been in business for over 14 years now, with offices in Troy, Florida, New Jersey, and we provide health care, benefits, workers' comp, payroll to, like I said, small to medium-sized companies. David, you want to add anything?
I do. We think of it, Frank, as a better way to build business, to improve efficiencies and improve the bottom line of our client companies. It's interesting that Michigan is the fifth largest PEO state for growth in our industry, just behind California, Florida, Texas, and New York. So it's an exciting time for us, being in this industry, this space, as long as we have, and building the team that we've done and adding the executives behind Tryon Solutions. But it's an exciting time with Michigan's growth, Detroit's strong economic growth. So we're excited to partner with the small businesses to provide our services, the payroll, the HR outsourcing solutions, to help get the economy on track, and we're just excited to be a part of that.
Why has this business gotten so big in Michigan, David?
I think it's been there. It's been around. The industry has grown. It's a strong industry. I think a lot of it is knowledge, education about our space. And I think the more we do things like this to educate the consumer about our space, it continues to grow. Mm-hmm. Typically when a business partners with a PEO, they stick with that PEO, and then it's one of those, you tell a friend, they tell two friends, and so on and so on and so on. It provides that complete business solution. What we do is we provide Fortune 500 level benefits to that small fish that's out there, and we help them grow.
And become big fish, as we've said in the commercials throughout.
Absolutely.
Now, the job of explaining how the finances work on all this falls on the CFO and Andrew Kirk, and that's where I'd like to go with you, Andrew. Why does this make sense for businesses to turn to one corporation like Tryon to handle all of the HR needs? How does that make sense financially?
It's a value proposition with regards to the services and the solutions that we provide our clients and our worksite employees. There are things that we can do for the organization, such as reduce administrative burdens by decreasing costs to prepare process payroll, garnishments, provide professional assistance ensuring compliance with federal and state employment laws and regulations, such as the ACA, reducing liability via workers' comp claims, administration, agency interfacing. So there are a whole host of solutions that we provide our client that reduces the administrative and the cost burdens.
Yeah.
That adds value.
David, we mentioned earlier you're president and co-founder of Tryon Solutions. I'd like to go back to the very start, how it began, when it began, and how the idea kind of germinated with you.
Yeah, it's interesting. A good friend of mine that's now sitting to my left in studio here is we were,
Don't tell me you played basketball with Bonner. I'm not buying that.
No.
Because he's going to post you up right now. Bonner, how tall are you? Like 6'8"?
6'9".
6'9", okay.
Yeah, so
All right.
no, that's
David, we're shooting over him from outside, okay?
we are. But Bonner and I were both friendly competitors way back when and did very well respectively with our individual PEOs. And at some point we had talked about, combining some synergies and economic efficiencies. And back in 2012, when our industry in Michigan had, there was some licensing and regulation involved in the state behind our business, we thought it was a good time to come together, join forces, and so we did that at that late time period, and collectively came together, changed the brand to Tryon Solution, rolled it out, and since then we've grown the company to where we are now. So.
How much competition is there in this?
There's competition in the space. We've got some large players out there, so it's a very competitive industry. Again, we're in the compliance business, and now it's become a heavily regulated industry as well. It should be, and we like that. So it's kind of narrowed the space for companies that provide the services that we do. So it goes from some very small mom and pop shop PEOs, if you will, to mid-sized to very large-sized PEOs. So.
Yeah. Bonner, what makes Tryon different than the others?
In my opinion, I think Tryon, with its diversity, where we can offer different products and services to clients. It's not a one-stop shop. You have to take everything. We can provide, insurance benefits, or we can provide workers' comp to our clients. So we do a lot of different things, and we really try and bring solutions for each individual client, and not generalize our service offering. Mm-hmm. And I think that's helped our growth tremendously over the last number of years.
All right, I want to explain to everybody out there each individual area that Tryon covers, if I might. But first, I want to take a commercial break, take care of our business here, and then we'll be back with much more of Great Places of the Great Lakes here on WJR.
It's Great Places of the Great Lakes, presented by Tryon Solutions. Don't be a little fish. Visit TryonWorks.com. Once again, your host, Frank Beckman.
You've already met three of the members of the team: David Stone, the president and co-founder; Bonner Upshaw, the CEO; Andrew Kirk, the CFO; and the Chief Operating Officer, Craig Vanderberg, joins us now as well. Good to have you with us as we start to dig into everything that Tryon offers in HR solutions. What I'd like to get from you, Craig, is maybe a starter here in this segment is what would make a company want to turn to Tryon to handle all of its HR activities?
Sure. Frank, thanks for having me. Sorry for my tardiness. It's an excellent question. I was tardy because I was talking to one of those prospective clients before I came over here.
David, are you buying that?
I'm buying it.
I hope I get paid this week, too, by the way. So that was specifically one of the topics. This is actually kind of a mid-sized company that we were talking to, and they were thinking about, do I do this stuff internally at this point, or do I partner up with somebody like Tryon in the PEO relationship? We spent about a half hour on that, and interestingly enough, two of their internal managers took the position that why would I do this internally? I need to get better at what we do. They're in the technology business. They want to attract young, smart IT people to the company, and their biggest challenge is they don't have a robust HR department to help support the ability to bring those people in. I think we've laid out a very good argument that partnering up with us would allow them to be that attractive bidder.
Well, it lets them focus on what they do best, which is run their own business and not have to have a separate department where they've got to handle, details of the ACA, which is very complicated, the Affordable Care Act, let's face it. And, and it's very costly as well.
It's extremely costly. It's more costly if you don't do it right. So their challenge is, and they're not unlike most of our current client base and clients we're talking to every day, regulatory environment to be a small to mid-sized business in the country is a challenging environment to be in. What you know today, the rules will change tomorrow. They need somebody that can do that for them. So as you said, Frank, I'm going to be in the IT business, I'm going to be in the manufacturing business, I'm going to be in the widget business. I don't want to worry about when I come in tomorrow and I hire 5 more people, am I doing it right? Regulatory issues are being taken care of. Are you taking care of my staff? Are they getting benefits? All these things I can't do well and make a profit at making widgets.
Mm-hmm. Andrew, how do they save money through all of that, though, these clients of yours?
Because of our size, we're able to pool our purchasing power in the market with vendors on the workers' comp side of the business, on healthcare, 401k, for example, and we're able to pool our purchasing power and help, to Craig's point, not only small to medium-sized organizations, but also large organizations. We have clients that have 2 worksite employees. We have other clients that have north of 1,000 worksite employees. So we're able to pool our purchase power and provide that to our clients.
Mm-hmm. And that's got to be attractive to somebody, David, who takes a look at, do I set up a department where I hire 10 or 15 people, or do I count on one company that already specializes in that?
Absolutely, Frank. It's that. Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to take your eye off the ball and what you do best? Let us focus on those non-revenue generating functions to partner with you to become a better business provider. Let us take care of the payroll, the workers' comp administration, the unemployment hearings, all of the things that we have full-time professionals working in your best interest and a client's best interest every day. Again, that allows them to be the best, as Craig referred to, widget maker that they can be. Let us focus on what we do best to make you the best provider out there.
What's the typical savings for somebody who calls Tryon? Let me give that phone number again, by the way, too. 248-498-8400. Online, you can check out the company in detail at tryonworks.com. But let's take people through exactly what you would cover and what sort of savings they can possibly realize.
Frank, let me chime in on that one. The savings opportunities are both hard fixed costs and then soft costs of avoiding challenges in the first place. The hard cost, those things come, as Andrew said, through our buying power a lot. When I'm going out to the market and I'm buying tens of millions of dollars of insurance, and I'm doing that as an aggregate buyer, and I'm spreading that buying power back to my clients, that's just something that our clients can't do. They're negotiating with $25,000 in premium, and we're negotiating with $25 million in premium. You get a better ear from the carrier environment when you have that leverage. And then knowing how to manage those programs and keep that cost low is not just an initial reduction in fixed costs, but it's a long-term reduction in fixed costs. Mm-hmm. On the soft cost side, it's what you don't know that probably saves our clients lots of money. Cases in point are we have clients every day that when we bring them out as a client, did not know that they were not complying with, say, a Fair Labor Standards Act requirement. We get them in compliance before the Department of Labor, somebody knocks on the door and says, hey, we had a complaint, you haven't been paying your people right, and now we're going to give you a fine of $25,000. We get them compliant, and even if they weren't compliant before our partnership, we now have professionals in place that if somebody ever rang on the door for the historical stuff before the partnership, we know how to avoid those problems and those fines. So we reduce costs on the front end, we maintain costs through the relationship, and we avoid the challenges by sharing in risk so that you don't get pinged with a tax problem, an audit problem, a DOL problem, something of that nature.
There's another part about dealing with Tryon that I think we ought to address right now. And for some people, it'd be like an elephant in the room. For others, it's quite natural. But for instance, in the auto industry, there are some requirements of them to hire a certain percentage of minority certified companies. And that's something that you get with Tryon Solutions. There are other industries that face that too. Let's talk a little bit about that, David and Bonner. You're both happen to be African American. I mean, you're Americans, but
you notice that, Frank?
You can't pull anything past me, David. I'll tell you. But no, in all seriousness, those are requirements for some industries,
sure
and so it's a benefit for them to say, hey, these guys are minority certified. What does that mean, first of all, and what's the advantage to the companies?
Yeah, I'll take the first part of the question because it's one of those things that we're Bonner and I are proud of, and maintaining the MBE certification. It was a process that we had to undertake, not like unlike other processes when we go into for other certifications that we're required to have. But in particular, you go through that process and you're vetted out, and we were fortunate enough year over year to maintain that certification of a minority certified operation.
What's that process like?
It's not unlike any other certification process. You have to go through some hoops and make sure that you're doing things properly. You have the certain financial wherewithal and different things like that. So we've met those thresholds and burdens, and again, we've maintained that certification for probably
at least 10 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the bottom line, you don't grow to where you've grown and service companies across the country just by saying, hey, we got a couple black guys running it, so come to us because we're minorities. That's not that. You still got to perform in this business, or you don't get more business.
Absolutely. A certification is just a certification. It's how you perform and what you do as a provider of service out there, and we become to be known as a strong service provider out there. But what it does is, and Bonner, I'll let you touch on more of what that certification does, is specifically here in Michigan what it does for client companies and allow them to do from a certification standpoint.
For example, you take a GM, for example, they require their suppliers to do 15% of their revenue with a certified minority-owned vendor. And what better way to hit those certification numbers, because everybody has payroll, everybody has HR, everybody has workers' compensation and things like that. So not only can we bring that to them, but we're bringing a viable service to those clients that they need and they use every day. So it's exciting.
Well, the bottom line is, though, you're bringing competence and you're bringing savings to them. That's the bottom line when all is said and done, and that's why you keep growing as a business. Now I want to get into how far you've grown, how big you've grown, and get into how Tryon has become a big fish after starting out as a little fish, too. Right here as we continue Great Places of the Great Lakes on WJR.
Tonight's edition of Great Places of the Great Lakes is presented by Tryon Solutions. Don't be a little fish. Once again, here's your host, Frank Beckman.
Tonight, we're featuring Tryon Solutions here on WJR, and Tryon Solutions is turning into one of the biggest professional employer organizations in the United States, and they're headquartered right here in Troy, Michigan. And why are they necessary? Why is it so important to hear about them? Because this industry is growing so quickly. There are, as you look across the country, I'm told, over 100,000 employees every year that are using companies like Tryon Solutions. It's moving fast because of all of the different areas in which you operate, and also some of the special relationships which you've developed with some big name corporations, for instance, Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Yeah, and interesting enough, Frank, that we're very proud of the relationship. You mentioned Blue Cross and Blue Shield and Blue Care Network. We recently entered into a relationship that we're excited about, where Blue Cross and Blue Care Network are looking at select PEOs, professional employer organizations, to enter into relationships from a healthcare standpoint. And we were fortunate enough to be vetted out and participate in that relationship. And again, we're very excited about that. And as you mentioned, with the results and the effect of the Affordable Care Act, our industry has grown, 15 to 20% nationally, just based on the nuances of that Affordable Care Act. So Blue Cross thought it was enough to get them in motion, partner up with a PEO such as ours, and we're excited about that. But they looked at some very critical factors in vetting companies like ours. They were looking at sustainability, favorable business models that we may have, and whether or not we would allow to continue to contract and remain with their agent group that they have out there. So those things were important to Blue Cross. We've done those things, and we're going to roll out an exciting opportunity on the healthcare piece to our client companies. So that's one of the things that we will continue to add to that 15 to 20% growth by introducing these programs.
Let's move over to Bonner here for a moment. You also have a close relationship, I understand, with PNC Bank. Let's talk about that for a moment.
Actually, Andrew, I'm going to let you answer that question.
Frank, we've reached out to the banking community, and we have an outstanding relationship with PNC. They recognized our growth and wanted to be part of our growth, and we have an outstanding relationship with PNC here locally that will help us meet our goals and growth objectives.
Mm-hmm. And how big have you become now within the industry? Let's talk about that.
We put together an annual operating plan as well as a 3 to 5 year business plan that will hopefully get us to approximately $1 billion within the next 3 to 5 years.
That's unbelievable. Over what period of time, David?
Yeah, that's a small period of time.
Exactly.
We're talking about a 3-year growth model from where we combine the companies together, and
you have to pinch yourself a little bit at that.
Yeah, we do, and and we have to, we equate our success to the strong executive team that we brought on, but not just the strong team that we brought on. It's our 85 professionals that are housed here locally and then in our Florida office. They've done a fantastic job. We equate a lot of our success to our COO. He's done a dynamic job. That's sitting right here, Craig, and I'll let him chime in on this, but he's done a fantastic job. So we've been fortunate enough in our years and growing up in this industry to put a phenomenal team together, and it is shown in our success. And Craig, I'll let you kind of expand on that.
Yeah, if I could add to that, and the opportunity for me has been very exciting. I've been in and around our PEO space for 30 years, Frank. I was 14 in my first job in the space. But one of the things that's kind of neat about Trion Solutions, our brand, we're very proud of our brand. The Trion brand is 4 years old, but the foundation of what became the Trion brand is roughly a 15-year-old company in the combination of Dave and Bonner's companies that we rolled up. And our ability to grow like we have in our expectations for continued growth are based kind of like the hockey stick concept. We had the really strong, great founders and foundation, and then it makes it easy for guys like me to come into the organization, hired guns like Andrew, and to go just take that hockey stick and just run up the hill with it. So it's exciting.
So explain to me, I'm a medium-sized company or small-sized company, and I'm thinking about getting into this field and hiring a professional employer organization like Trion. How do you sell me on the benefits to me?
Well, I started pitching the business, like I said, 30 years ago, and the pitch really isn't much different than when we started.
Yeah, when you're 14, you say, "I'll give you a glass of lemonade with that, sir." That's different. You can't do that anymore.
Well, I did beg a little bit more back then, but the value proposition is the primary pitch, and what hasn't really changed is all the things that we do for you as your backroom, as your HR partner in the backroom: payroll, benefits, HR, compliance, workers' comp, unemployment. At the end of the day, if I sell flowers, if I sell IT services, if I sell cars, not one of those things produces revenue for that business. And probably somebody that's doing those things in that either client or prospective client's business, they're not great at it. They were unceremoniously handed the hat to say, "You're in charge of HR." And every day they're probably wondering, why am I doing this? I don't want to do it. The challenge that you have that's worse than 30 years ago is the amount of regulatory compliance in the United States on a small business now is about 100 times worse than it was when I started selling at 14. So the value proposition is, why would you want to do all of that? Tell me what part of WJR do you make money at? Payroll, taxes, workers' comp, unemployment. Which one of those do you make your most money at? And you can't answer yes to any of them. So our pitch is very simple. If it doesn't make sense and it doesn't help grow your business, partner up with Tryon and we'll take care of it for you.
Well, you know what? Here's the other point is, I don't recall anybody ever saying, I went to college and I studied human resources to go work in a company and take care of HR. You have to be specifically trained to know all of the rules that go into hiring people and payroll rules, how much gets paid to who gets overtime. There's something called the Fair Labor Standards Act that's forever changing and is going to change again at the end of this year in December. That's going to impact businesses too. You guys have the experts to deal with that, and you can just go to your clients and tell them, hey, here's what you need to do. Here's what you need to know. They are not necessarily expert in that, are they?
They generally are not, Frank, and that's an excellent one that you pointed out. The Fair Labor Standards Act changes. For decades now, you were able to treat at least one of the tests, treat folks to be exempt from paying them overtime in the United States if they made roughly a little more than $21,000 a year, which was, as you know, in decades ago, that was probably a fair bar. $21,000 in 2016 is not what it was in 1983. The bar is being raised exponentially in December to around $51,000. So Small Business America, if you were to look demographically at their paid employees, the lion's share of their staff falls between that roughly 21 and 51. That's our client base. More than likely, there's going to be a huge shift of people that are being treated as exempt from overtime salaried employees between now and then to hourly employees. And that brings in a whole new quandary of things you got to deal with, because you got to be able to track the hours. You got to be able to define the roles, job descriptions, making sure testing's appropriate. All of those things that you need to do to make sure you're in compliance, we do all those things now. We'll do them for you. You don't even have to learn. Not unlike the ACA that you talked about earlier. Don't learn it. Give it to Tryon. The Fair Labor Standards Act change is a huge issue for Small Business America, and we're taking care of those issues for our clients right now.
And I can also hear employers out there going, wait a minute, but my business is different from the company next door. And I want to get into that and how you deal with those differences right here on WJR, Great Places of the Great Lakes with Tryon Solutions at 800-681-WORKS or online, tryonworks.com, TRION works.com.
Great Places of the Great Lakes on WJR has been presented by Tryon Solutions. Once again, Frank Beckman.
We've been talking with the top executives at Tryon, the founders of the company, David Stone and Bonner Upshaw, Craig Vanderberg, the COO, Andrew Kirk, the Chief Financial Officer of the company as well. I want to talk about the size of the companies you deal with and how you sort of tailor your plans in working with everything from a restaurant owner that we've heard in the ads here on WJR to a dentist to larger corporations. How do you specifically tailor what you do to the size of people's businesses and their needs?
Frank, if I could go back just a moment, we were talking about Fair Labor Standards and we were talking about ACA. The commonality of all of our clients, regardless of what they do, and we have those. We have restaurants, we have manufacturers, we have IT companies. We have just about every kind of business as a client. But the commonality is the regulatory environment doesn't change that much by what you do as a client. So the Fair Labor Standards Act applies the same to a restaurant and a demolition company. The ACA applies the same if you're at a certain size to an IT company and a shipping company. So we're really good at the regulatory environment, number one, as a basis, so that's consistent. whether it's workers' compensation, whether it's payment of wages, whether it's employee benefit structure and design. But the other thing that we've gotten to be really, really good at is we get to know our clients' businesses too. So over 15 years, we've learned what makes one of our restaurant clients a really good bidder in the market, maybe over one of our other restaurant clients. One manufacturer a little bit better than the other. So when we bring on another manufacturing company, we take that learning experience that we got out of benefit design, employment practices, and make these suggestions and consultative approach with somebody in the same space.
Is everyone different, though?
Everybody is a little bit different. Small business America is very entrepreneurial, and the culture at every small business is very unique. And we kind of think that they fall in 4 or 5 different buckets as far as, you know, what makes up this kind of a style of company, regardless of what they sell or produce. They have a different culture. We get to understand their culture. Some organizations are very sales-driven. Some are very service-driven. Some are very family-oriented businesses. We apply what we learned from each of those types of businesses to each client and how we put benefit plans, payroll, and different designs in place.
Yeah, I can just picture some of the clients that you have and that we've heard about, and see the offices. An office of doctors, for instance, where you have doctors on the staff, you have nurses on the staff, you got receptionists on the staff. You don't have HR experience there. You're dealing with making people well and keeping them well. You don't have time to worry about the other stuff, you know?
Absolutely, Frank. A good dentist friend of mine that's been a client of ours for probably 15 years always says is, he makes his money by having his hands in people's mouths and things like that, and it's not is not wondering if
better than in their pockets.
That's right. So it's not wondering if Susie's taking unemployment benefits or has got a workers' comp issue or payroll and things like that. That's not how he grows his practice. And so he's said time and time again and again, to be with us for 15 years is a strong testament, as is a number of our clients. One of the things we talked about that differentiates ourselves in the marketplace is how we've organically grown our business model. A lot of it is through friendships. It's through referrals. We know our clients on first name basis and things like that because we help them navigate the challenges of this business environment out there. There's complex issues that we have to deal with. We talked about one with the Fair Labor Standards Act and different things like that, the Affordable Care Act, and those are just big items that are out there. And we mentioned that we're in a compliance business, so we help our client companies, and in turn there's a trust that they then go out and will refer us new business, and they feel proud about doing that. So, and we're proud about providing our services that we do and help them grow their business.
And you talk about a co-employment model. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, that co-employment model exists, and I see Craig leering over at me, so he loves this question. So
he's jumping all over.
He's chomping at the bit to get in here.
I'm very passionate about co-employment, Frank. I meet them at the bar and they don't know what to say when I bring it up, but I'm very passionate about it. So co-employment is.
Means you're splitting the tab, doesn't it?
50-50. They drink and I buy. So, but co-employment is evolved in this country to becoming more of the norm. It's always been a structure that's been around for decades, but it's becoming more of the norm than the exception. And that is, employment is not an easy thing to do. As a matter of fact, I think if you polled 100% of our clients, 98% of it would tell you, if I didn't have to have employees to run my business, I wouldn't have them because of the work, right? So that's why you hire Tryon. Co-employment allows you to do this. Tryon and our client become co-employers of those shared employees. That's the technical answer. The practical answer is we share in risk, we share in strategy, we share in vision, we share in benefit design. We do all of this stuff as a co-employer to have better outcomes for those employees working for a client. Mm-hmm. And if I could just mention real quick, along the point of, you make an excellent point of our clients generally don't have those HR professionals when they come to work with Tryon. We have a great client where the two founders and the client, they left a Fortune 500 company, huge IT company, to start up on their own. That was about 4 years ago. They become wildly successful and kudos to them. But the very first thing they did when they started their company, they had no HR background and they wanted a lot of benefits that they had at a Fortune 500 company. And they said, we're going to partner up with Tryon. We don't want to figure it out, but we want to grow our company, and we're going to let them do it. So visionary enough to say use the co-employment PEO relationship out of the gate.
Well, I can see the cost savings there, obviously, but the other part is there's not just a one-size-fits-all approach either. I mean, you're gonna tailor what you do for that company, and then you're also taking on, in some ways, the risk. I mean, if there are audits involved with the IRS and the like, now it falls on you. They don't have to worry about that, right?
You're exactly right, Frank. We tailor each of our relationships to meet the specific needs of the clients. It's not the blanket approach. So like again, some clients only want us to process their payroll, and other clients need workers' comp insurance or P&C insurance for that matter. So we've become successful at doing that for our clients, and which has helped our retention. And we have a great service model. When you call in the 1-800-681-WORKS, someone's going to answer the phone, and we have a great team of employees there at Tryon to service our clients. So again, our retention level is tremendous, and I'm very proud to say that.
So I call you at that phone number, say 681-WORKS, 800-681-WORKS, or I go online at tryonworks.com. What's the next step after that? What happens? Take me through it very quickly.
So, Frank, you can actually request a quote right through our website. You'll see it right on the site.
Really?
Yep. You do the drop-down tab, and you can upload all the data we need to give you a very comprehensive analysis of what our fee structure would look like, the cost structure for the co-employment relationship, and the net results are, going back to your point on savings, are going to tell you what those savings opportunities are. You can do that right online. You can call one of our sales professionals at the office.
Just like that. And you'd be on the job, what, in a week?
We can have you on in a week for sure. We have a defined enrollment model to make sure that it's seamless for you, Frank. But if you need it tomorrow, we could put WJR on tomorrow. I'm pretty certain.
I'll bet you could and would. Hey, thanks for coming in, all four of you, and explaining more of what Tryon does. I hope a whole lot of businesses are getting the message out there that they can get rid of a whole lot of headaches and turn them over to you and your lemonade stand over there, Craig. And you guys do great work. The theme of the company is "Don't be a little fish,
Swimming in a glass of lemonade."
Almost. Be a big fish and join Tryon Solutions, because Tryon
Works
for
You.
you betcha. Thank you. Craig
Thanks,
Vanderberg, thank you. Andrew Kirk, David Stone, great to see you. Bonner Upshaw, thank you.
Great to see you, Frank.
Thank you very much.
You've been listening to Great Places of the Great Lakes featuring Tryon Solutions here on WJR.